Welcome everyone. As we are doing the special segment called For the Shabbos Table for Parshas Vayaira, this year is made possible by a special grant by the Reuben family with the special tefillah to Hashem that they should be zeichet to a ben zacher. So we ask everybody to have that in mind for them, and that Hashem should be mamale all their requests for the good. Vayaira, and the Malach said, Shoiv oshuv elecha ke'es chaya, and I will return to you at this time, v'hine ben l'Sara ishtecha, and Sarah, your wife, will be with a child. She will have a child. The Sarah shemas Pesach ha'oil, and Sarah heard by the door of the tent v'hu acharav. And the terminology v'hu acharav, the Targum Yonis Ben Uziel adds, interestingly, that Yishmael was behind them and he was listening. Now it says, "Titzchak Sarah b'kirba leima." Sarah laughed inwardly, saying, "Achrei v'loisi haisa li edna." After I am withered in old age, I should be smooth. And subsequently, v'tichachei Sarah leimar, Sarah denied, saying, "Lo yitzachakti," I didn't laugh. Ki yareya, because she was afraid. Vayaira, and Hashem said, "Lo ki tzachakt," she did laugh. Now, this whole thing begs for explanation. I mean, people read this and they say, first of all, how could she be in wonderment, achrei v'loisi haisa li edma, that after I'm withered I should have fresh skin, when we know that already that day she got back her cycle. Or not got back, she got her cycle, because it says that that's why, even though she was lushi v'asiu gos, she kneaded and she made cakes, Avram never brought it, because she was pierced in nida and it became tameh. So she saw something was going on, so why would she be so surprised? And also, there's like a contradiction in terms. She laughed b'kirba lema. B'kirba is inwardly. Lema means she actually said it. So what happened? And of course, we all want to wonder, why would she lie about laughing? I mean, Hashem said Sarah laughed, and she said she didn't, but we see that she did. What's going on over here? So the Maggid Yosef gives a fascinating understanding of the entire episode. The Maggid Yosef says that Targum Yonis Ben Uziel is cluing us in when it says v'hu acharav, that Yishmael was there listening. When Sarah Imenu realized that, she got very scared. She was afraid that Yishmael would give an ayin hara to her child. After all, Yishmael would not want to have competition, right? So, I mean, this is an old story. Esav didn't want to have competition, and he tried to kill Yaakov. And so that's what happened with Noach. According to one opinion, they didn't want to have didn't want to have any more competition, and that's why he made Noach sterile. So she got frightened, and therefore, in order that Yishmael shouldn't give an ayin hara, she said out loud, almost to make it as if it was absurd what the Malach was saying. She wanted to discount it in the eyes of Yishmael. And then when Hashem said that Lama zet tzachak Sarah, so Sarah denied it, saying, I wasn't laughing. Ki yarei, I only did it because I was frightened. And the Rabbeinu Shalom's response was, you laughed. If the Rabbeinu Shalom sends a message that you're going to have a healthy child, then ke'es chayo l'sara vein, that is not the way to behave. That's not, even though you wanted to diffuse a possible ayin hara, that wasn't the proper hishtadlus. Vayomer Hashem al Avram, Lama zeh tzachak asar. Now, we know that he went to Avram to ask Avram why Sarah laughed. But, why didn't Hashem go directly to Sarah? And ask Sarah herself, why did you laugh? Sarah was a Neviah. Why did he ask Avram? We know that we get into trouble when we do that. When Miriam spoke to Aaron, and the question, of course, is Miriam should have gone directly to Moshe Rabbeinu. Why would the Rebbeinu Shalom go to Avram? He should have directly asked Sarah, why did you laugh? So Rabbi Yisrael Salanter gives an important answer to this. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter says that it teaches us that if there's any kind, in the case of Sarah, it's a very, obviously, very delicate, subtle thing. She was a big tzedekis. But if there's any behavioral question on a wife, it reflects on the husband. Because the husband is supposed to be such a mashpia, such an influencer, that the wife shouldn't do such a thing. And therefore, because Sarah did this, the Rebbeinu Shalom turned with a complete complaint, so to speak, to the husband. Why does this happen under your roof? We have to know that this is a Gemara. The Gemara tells us, Ish nitfas al anshe beisai. A man is held accountable for the spiritual behavior of his household. Now, this is a very delicate thing. Because if a man is going to criticize his wife, they say that in yeshiva, the most unpopular person sometimes is the mashgiach. Because he has to give that withering look. Right? And a man does not want to become unpopular with his wife. So, even so, if a husband sees that his wife is always on the phone talking Lashon Hara, he can't turn a blind eye. He has to figure out a way. To criticize her probably not the way. But maybe it's a good idea for him to say to her, let's make a Seder in Lashon Hara, because, it would be good for me to brush up on Lashon Hara. Both of us, it'll sensitize us more. And by the way, that's a true thing. Even if we know about Lashon Hara, but, milsa de loiramya le de inshe lavadate. Things that people don't think about are not on their mind. And then we start talking about the kids, and we have to know what we're allowed to talk about, what we're not allowed to talk about, the daughter-in-laws and the mother-in-laws, and you have to know. When you make a Seder to learn a little about Lashon Hara every day, Lashon Hara is more on your mind, and you become more sensitized to it. There's we know that probably the most famous act of kindness is in this week's Parsha. And the most famous act of kindness is the behavior of Avram on the 3rd days of his circumcision, when Hashem took the sun out and it was a chamsin outside. And here Avram is running and he's serving up tongues and he's chasing animals. And it's unbelievable. So there is a very revealing Orchos Tzadikim. The Orchos Tzadikim, which is one of the pillars of the Muslim movement, and it's studied, it's on the shelves in yeshivas all over the globe for many, many years, for many, many decades. The Orchos Tzadikim in Shar Kinna, the gate of Kinna, of jealousy, he writes that although jealousy is a midah rahi ma'id, it's a very ugly trait. Jealousy is a very ugly trait. We know that the first homicide in the Torah was because of jealousy. Cain was jealous of Hevel. The Rebbeinu Shalom introduces act of violence because of jealousy. We know jealousy tore apart the Shiftei Ka, It caused us to go down to Egypt. We sold our brother as a slave, therefore we had to become slaves. We know, according to one opinion, the Meraglim, which caused an entire generation to die in the desert, was because of jealousy, that the spies were afraid that when they got to Eretz Yisrael, everybody would be so elevated that they wouldn't be special. And because of that jealousy, they spoke about the land. Jealousy is even suggested as the crime that led the Nachash to tempt Chava, because he was jealous that Adam had such a beautiful wife, Chava, and he wanted Chava for himself. The only midah that's spoken about in the Ten Commandments is jealousy, right? You shouldn't covet that which is not yours. You shouldn't desire what's not yours. You shouldn't be jealous for it. Although it's such an ugly trait, but the Orchot Tzadikim says there is a kinna which is a good kinna. Yesh makam, I'll tell you his language. Yesh makam shehu mida toiva ma'id. It's a very great trait. V'hi midas el yoinim, and it's a midah of the elite. What is that? So he says, he quotes a medrash in this week's parasha, Medrash Sheicher Tov, that says that why did Avram make his life mission chesed, kindness? It says because Avram Avinu spoke to Malki Tzedek Melech Shalem, who we know as Shem, the son of Noach, and he asked him, in what merit did you survive the Teva? They were in the Teva. That was a miracle boat. And it was hermetically sealed inside and out with the dung of every single animal species. It would be enough to be in a hermetically sealed chicken coop. But this was a chicken coop, and a monkey coop, and a hippo coop, and an elephant coop. It had the dung of an entire year. There was no water on the table. There was no steering on the table. The whole thing was a miracle boat. And Avram asked Shem, in what merit did you survive? He said, in the merit that we didn't sleep and we fed the animals and the beasts around the clock for an entire year. Avram was jealous of the chesed, and therefore he embarked on a career of chesed. And the Archas Tzadikim says that we see over here, Val davar zeh yir ba'adam kina. In something like this, a person should have jealousy. This is what we say, kinas soifrim tir b'chacham. So here, for example, the Daf Yomi is starting of this Shabbos. It's finishing Seder Nashim. It's more than half Shas, by the way. And it's starting Seder Nezikim, Bava Kama. And you look at people and you say, wow, this person already learned. Unbelievable. He learned Brachas, and he learned Shabbos, and he learned the Erevin, and he learned Yuma, and he learned unbelievable. All the Masechta Shkolim, Megillah, Chagiga, Tanis, Moed Cotton. It's amazing what this person learned. And then he learned Yavamis and Ksuvas, Shas, Cotton, Nidarim, Nazir, Saita, Gittin, Kedushin. Wow! For me, even one Masechta is, and look, he learned all these things. And how did he do it? He did it by embarking on a campaign to learn one blot a day. It's amazing. Boy, I wish I had such an accomplishment. That's a good kinna. That's a good jealousy. It's interesting. This Orchot Tzadikim is a little bit different than what Rav Steinman said. Rav Steinman said, it says kinnas sar from tir b'chacham. It doesn't say kinnas tzadikim. Because tzadikim don't use jealousy. But from this Orchot Tzadikim, it's mashma not that way. This Orchot Tzadikim say that Hashem gave us an innate jealousy to use properly. Like it says, B'chol Avavcha, with two bases. We should serve Hashem with a Yetzer Tov and a Yetzer Hara. There are times that we have to harness the Yetzer Hara to use it l'shem Shemayim. Yukach no ma'at mayim, take a little water, v'rachatzu ragleichem. So Rashi says that this Avraham Avinu delegated al yidei shliach, and therefore v'akadosh baruch Hu shileim al yidei shliach, and therefore Hashem paid him, although he gave the man directly to Klal Yisrael, and he gave the shade, the Hanani HaKavod directly, but since Avraham Avinu delegated the water, therefore Hashem didn't give us water directly, but through Moshe Rabbeinu, as it says, Vayaira Moshe Yadai Vayachas Hasel. Now we know that this had catastrophic results, because we know because Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock, he was punished. He didn't go into Eretz Yisrael, and without him going into Eretz Yisrael, if he would have gone into Eretz Yisrael, there wouldn't have been any problems. There wouldn't have been any gullus, right? So this had catastrophic repercussions. And the question is, what was wrong that he did it al yedei shliach? So the Chofetz Chaim in Avas Chesed says two things. First of all, mitzvah bo yosim b'shluchai. It's a mitzvah to do something yourself rather than to delegate. And he says, particularly in the case where you have guests, the guests are more honored if the host does it than if he delegates it and he staffs it out. You know, you want to buy your wife a present, don't tell your secretary to pick it out. That's a real bad idea. Don't staff it out. That's a real bad idea. Rav Moshe, Zech Tzav Kodesh Avracha, my Rebbe, Rav Moshe, Rebbe of all of Klal Yisrael, he says something else. He said, L'chayra, Avraham Avinu did it like it says that he gave it to the Nar, he did it to be Mechanech. So what's the taina if he did it to be Mechanech? So Rav Moshe says it's coming to teach us that, like we learned over and over and over again, the best chinuch is for the father to model the behavior. That's the best kind of chinuch. You have over here, by the way, the famous word also from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter on a different angle, that, here Avraham Avinu was so lavish, 3 tongues with mustard, an amazing amount, shloish sov, kemach, that's an amazing amount of flour, and here he says, take a little water. He says, because when you delegate something, don't be a tzaddik on Yenim's cheshbon. If the maid has to take the water from the river, then don't give a lot of water. And that's also a big lesson. Don't be a tzaddik on somebody else's cheshbon. Now here I want to share with you a thought from Rav Chaim of Brisk. When he was davening about Stoim and Amayra, so it says he was still standing before Hashem. And Chazal tell us, Ein amida ela tefillah. Standing is tefillah. Now what does that mean? It says, Vayamid Pinchas Vayafalel. So we know that it teaches us in Pirkei Avos, Da lifnei mi ata oimed. Know before whom you are standing. A lot of people, when they daven, they're talking to the sitter. When they bench, they're talking to the bench. But without proper training, they don't really feel that they're standing before the Rebbeinu Shalom. The proof is in the pudding. If they really feel that they're standing before the Rebbeinu Shalom, they wouldn't daydream. They wouldn't say the words without kavanah. But Reb Chaim of Brisk says, and this is such a profound idea, he says, it's not pshat that if you daven without thinking that Hashem is in front of you, It's a chsaron in the kavanah of your tefillah. If you daven without realizing that Hashem is in front of you, that's not davening. You know, the halacha is that if you are mechalel Shabbos in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, so if you forgot that it was Shabbos or you forgot the malacha was aser, then you have to bring a korban chatas. You have to bring a sin offering. So let's say you pulled something out of the ground. If you forgot that it was Shabbos, you have to bring a chatas. That's called shigiga Shabbos uzdain malacha. Or you forgot that detaching something from the ground is forbidden. That's called shigigas malacha uzdain Shabbos. In either case, you have to bring a chatas. But if you thought that the item was detached from the ground, but when you picked it up, you ripped it out, but you didn't realize you were ripping it out, that's not, you don't bring a chatas, because that's not a malacha, that's misasek. You didn't have in mind that you were doing it at all. So for example, somebody comes out of the bathroom and with a reflex, he shuts the light. Not because he forgot that it was Shabbos, and not because he forgot that shutting the light is usher. He just didn't realize what he was doing. So there you wouldn't have to bring a chatas. A person that stands, that is in front of the sitter, but doesn't realize that Hashem is in front of him, doesn't realize that he's talking to Hashem, it's not pshat that he's davening without kavanah. That's not davening. And that's what it means. Ein amida ela tefillah. To be omed lefnei Hashem, that's tefillah. Without omed lefnei Hashem, that's not davening. It's a very powerful thought from Reb Chaim. A person that's saying the words, letting his mouth do the walking for him, but he doesn't even focus that he's talking to the Rabbeinu Shalom, he's not davening. It's really a powerful thought. And here's another powerful thought from another great from yesteryear, from Rav Shlomo Hyman. Zeichet Tzadik Livracha, Zchus Yogan Aleinu. We know, I'm gonna, he doesn't introduce it this way, I'm going to come around a little bit through the back door to share with you his powerful thought. We know that Avraham Avinu said, "V'sadu lipchem," and you should satisfy your heart. So Rashi says that this is said to angels, because angels don't have yetzer hara, right? By humans it says levavchem, the two vases, because we have a yetzer toiv and a yetzer hara, but angels don't have a yetzer hara. They don't sin. So therefore, v'sadu libchem. Now, some learned that Avram didn't know that they were angels, but niba ve'eni yodea ma niba. He prophesied, he didn't realize what he prophesied. But others derive from here that Avram was aware there's no humans that could come out in this kind of sun. It was a chamsin outside, right? And he realized that these were celestial guests. And that's why he said to them, v'sadu libchem. But if he did realize, then that begs the question, he knows angels don't eat. So why did he go through? Remember, he put Hashem on hold. Vayaira love Hashem, and he said, Hashem, excuse me. I'll no sabar mi alavdecha. Don't leave, but I have to put the Rabbeinu Shalom on hold. I got guests. That's how we know. He put the Rabbeinu Shalom on hold. But what do you put the Rabbeinu Shalom on hold for if they're not really eating? Why do you have to go chase a bucker? Why do you have to tell his 89-year-old wife, Mari, Lushi, Vasi, who goes, they don't even eat food? What's going on over here? And the answer is that although they don't eat, but the act of chesed is there for other people to learn from and imitate. And this act of chesed has been studied and learned from through the millennia. It's reported in the Torah. We have 3 matzahs, according to some. This was Pesach by night. That's why it was Shlosh Sim Kemach, representing the Kohen Levi in Yisrael, right? the 3 matzahs, and that's why, even though she was 89 years old and definitely knew how to prepare challah, he said, Lushi, knead it. She doesn't know how to make challah. You have to tell your wife, Lushi. But he said, remember, this is matzah. You have to work it that it shouldn't become chametz. Others say, Lushi v'asiyu goes. He said, knead it and don't wait. Don't let it rise. We got people waiting. Lushi v'asiyu goes. Right? We learn a lot from this. And others say that it was by Sukkot, and that's why, even if it wasn't Sukkot, but that's why there's a mitzvah, Erev Sukkot, to give tzedakah, so that we should be ready when we come into the Sukkah to Avram, to the Shpizin of Avram, that we should emulate what he did. This was a great act to teach people to do it. So Reb Shlomo Hyman says that even though he knew that the angels are not going to eat, but he was demonstrating, this was Avraham Avinu who was teaching the world chesed, and teaching us through this act throughout the millennia, that even when it's not convenient for you, and even when it's hard, you do chesed. And Reb Shlomo Hyman took this and he applied it elsewhere. He said, you have a shir, and you go to a shir, and you're tired, and you don't know if you're going to be able to follow the shir or not. He said, if you're able to go, you should go anyway. Because the fact that you come, even though you're tired, inspires other people to come. It's not just you going to the shir. You're not playing solo. You're inspiring other people with your coming to the shir. I told over a story over here that Rav Zilverstein tells, that there was a man who was already an older person, and every night he would carry a big heavy Gemara to the Daf Yomi. And one person asked him, I've been wondering, why do you have to carry the Gemara every night? Leave it in shul. Is it because you don't have a Gemara at home and you review it? But if not, that's a very heavy Gemara. Keep it by the shir. And if you do review, maybe it's worthwhile to buy another Gemara for the house. And secondly, why do you go that way? There's a shortcut that cuts the trip in half. And the man says, I'll tell you. I carry the Gemara and I take the main route, because every night I'm hoping that somebody will notice that I'm trekking to the shir with my big Gemara, and they might say, I should go to a shir too. And that's why I don't take the shortcut. The shortcut is through the back roads. Nobody will see me. I want to go on the main road that people should see me. When we learn, we're ambassadors. And that's why it's good to talk about it. It's good to tell people, I'm finishing Seder Noshim. You know how wonderful that feels? You know what accomplishment that is? That's how Reb Shlomo Hyman learns the act of Avram. And by the way, this is in every area in life. It's true also when a person goes after davening and he sees his wife come out of Ezes Noshim and he greets her with a smile. You're being a very big melamed. You're teaching people. You're teaching people how to greet a wife, how to greet a husband. I really want to thank again the Rubin family for making this share possible. And I want to tell you that this evening, later on this evening, we'll have the main Chumash share, and Emir Hashem, this coming weekend, we'll be starting Bava Kama. I also want to say that I'll be in Hancock Park in California for Shabbos. So if you're in California, please check out. I know I'll be speaking in the Young Israel, and I'll be speaking in a bunch of other places. So stay tuned for that. I know I'm making a siyum on Seder Nashim Sunday evening before I return back to Lakewood. If you live there, I hope to see you. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful Shabbos.